What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the weekly Forex forecast and trade setups video for March 24th, 2019. Here I'll be showing you my outlook for the upcoming week on specific pairs that currently have my interest. These videos are leading to some fantastic trades week after week that in turn are helping many of the viewers bank hundreds and hundreds of pips, some even thousands of pips, and others even thousands of dollars. I urge you to make these videos a part of your weekly trading preparation, and if you haven't already, be sure to join the channel by subscribing so you don't miss out on any of the action. I want to give a big shout out to all those who are actively participating on the channel, as the involvement is appreciated and welcomed. Like always, there's a lot to cover in this week's video, so buckle up, take note, and let's get into it. Welcome to Price Action Nation, where we help you go from indicator overload and analysis paralysis to finally trading with clarity and confidence. Here we focus on helping traders become independently profitable by focusing on pure price action. So if you're new, please support the channel and consider subscribing. To get started, we're going to dive into the Aussie CAD. This is a 4-hour chart. We've been looking at this for a few weeks now. As you know, a few weeks ago I got in long on this pair back at the bottoms of these lows, and it's been coming up nicely ever since. Slowly, but it has been going up. We're now at an interesting point in time now where we're more than likely going to see price met with some hesitation, and it's just a matter of waiting at this point and being patient. Stops are moved to a stop profit, a little bit of profits taken at these levels, expecting ultimately for price to break out of this range and coming up and at least testing these highs, if not going higher. Now of course that doesn't mean we can't see price from this area come back lower, see some new lows created. If that happens, we'll be looking to get in long once again for this next wave up. Moving on to the Aussie Franc 4-hour chart. As you know from last week's video, we were expecting price from these areas up here to come on down, and sure enough you can see just as expected, coming down very nicely. Although I wasn't looking particularly for shorts, that doesn't mean you couldn't have looked for that with that outlook being given. However, we're now at an area at a level that I'm very interested in looking for long setups, buy setups. In fact, we can already see that 4-hour candle meeting that level with some respect with that green candle currently being formed here. Will we continue to see it higher from there? That remains to be seen. However, I do expect that being a very good likelihood. I've got a bullish outlook on the Aussie Franc longer term, and that's what I'll be keeping an eye out for, our longs. Aussie Yen 4-hour chart. Last week's forecast on this pair was bearish, and sure enough we had this really nice breakdown south very aggressively. We're at levels now where the shorts, getting into a short isn't going to be, not going to be a very reasonable trade at this point. If you are in short, I would simply move your stop, take some profits off the table at this area of demand that we're sitting at right now. And on smaller time frames, what you could do is actually drive down to some smaller time frames, look for buy setups, and look to capture this wave back to the upside, and look to ride that trade back up here to these former highs. In order to be considering any shorts, I'd like to see price break below this structure that it's currently at right now with some force, and then give us a correction or a sell setup on a smaller time frame to pinpoint a very nice entry. Aussie Kiwi 4-hour chart. Upside is the outlook on this pair. If you've been following these videos week after week, you know that I'm very bullish on this pair. It was no surprise that this downside happened, as we were expecting the possibility of that being very likely. Sure enough, it's been coming down, just trickling down very gradually. We've got this really nice falling wedge, price consolidating, winding up tighter and tighter in this area, and eventually it's this up wave, this really nice bullish wave that you're going to want to look to get into. If we move out to a daily chart, you can see that 4-hour consolidation here that we have. Price is just coming in tighter, really indecisive but gradual on the way down. And you can see back actually in the past, let me show you guys something. History repeats itself here. Do you guys see this price formation over here, where price is doing the identical thing as it was over here. And what did that lead to? Led to this massive wave to the upside that happened very aggressively, very quickly. And so that's the same kind of wave, something that's comparable to this over here that we're looking for. If I go out to a weekly chart, that gives you even more context. Can you guys see these lows that we're at down here? Historically, price just hasn't spent any time below that. So from strictly a value perspective, okay, put your mind in the mindset of an investor. Is this a tremendous area of value to be getting in, to be considering a position long on this pair? Absolutely. All right. So if you're here to just make a quick buck and scalp a couple of pips here and there in a matter of minutes, this isn't the trade for you. This is very much a long-term position style trade where you can see price coming back up to this 114 range is not much to ask. Historically, in the big picture, doesn't look like very much of a move. That's over 1,000 pip move, you guys. So is that something worth keeping on your radar? Is that something worth considering to get in? Is that something worth planning for? Absolutely. Aussie dollar 4-hour chart, the outlook on this is bullish. Upside is what you want to be focused on here. There is a good likelihood, just based on the way the price action is forming up, that we will see another wave to the downside. At least that's certainly not going to surprise me to see these lows taken out and new lows being created. However, that's just going to be an even better price, an even better opportunity for the long term. So when this wave does engage, you'll have a really nice trade and position to be in on that move. In the medium term, I am expecting price to come up to the 74.75 handle. However, if we go to a weekly chart, you can see that my ultimate target on this is going to be this 80 handle up here above. CAD Franc 4-hour chart, outlook on this is bullish. Upside is the side of the market that I'll be looking to be in. Although this market could push a little bit lower, shorts are not the trade of choice at this point. Outlook is long. Upside is the direction you want to be looking for. Euro Aussie, for the time being, I'm not going to be paying too much attention on the Euro Aussie, at least not that close. I will be a lot more interested in this pair once these highs over here get taken out, new highs are created, price reaches the top of this structure up here, and from that point you can see there's some really important highs that are hanging out right over here. As soon as price gets up here and tags or takes out those highs, that's where I'm going to be a lot more interested in getting in short. That little bit of risk, you guys, provides a lot of upside, and it's actually not just the bottom of this range that I'd be looking for. In the event that trade occurs, it's actually for that to break down and create some lower lows. Euro CAD 4-hour chart, as you can see from last week's outlook, overall the outlook was bullish. Although this wasn't a trade I got in, I was wanting to see price come down to these levels before getting in long. Buyer stepped in way before that at this area of support and decided to take price higher. However, it was compliant with the overall outlook, and at this stage of the game, we're just going to keep things on hold. One way I would consider taking a trade on this is if we see price correct back down into this zone here, and upon doing so, keeping an eye out for any buy setups from that area for price to go higher and catching that up wave there. Euro pound daily chart, still bullish. Upside is expected on this pair, and as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of upside for the euro pound, and we're at an area where there's some really good value. We want to be on high alert for an opportunity to get in long. I'm currently in long, established in a trade that is risk-free at this point, and we'll be just holding out for that next wave higher. Coming down to a 4-hour chart, we can see price just it's in an accumulation phase at this point, and if we do see price lower after these lows get taken out, that's where I will once again be considering and on the lookout for longs to the upside. Euro yen, last week's outlook was bearish, and this just played out textbook. Myself, along with many of our traders, were able to capture this wave. Congratulations if you did. If you were in, I would consider closing out at least half, maybe more of the position out down here. There's a good chance we're going to see some pushback from buyers at this point. Euro Kiwi, upside, that's what you want to be looking for. Last week ended very interesting as we had these lows here, here, and here, broken and taken out, lots of liquidity grabbed by the market, which clears the way for some major upside here. I'm still bullish on this. I am going to be looking to get back in on this trade, although I've been stopped out a number of times. A few of the times in which have been very nice profitable trades. However, any and all of those profits along the way are going to be dwarfed in size when we see this wave here come to fruition. You'll recall in last week's video when price was in this little ABC correction here, we were anticipating price to head higher. Of course, that's exactly what happened, albeit that wasn't without additional downside, like I just pointed out, with these lows over here being taken out. But you can already see this really impressive reaction by buyers coming in and stepping in the market at this point. I will be expecting this week that we'll just see continuation of the buyers. In the event that we do have price breaking these lows here, that still is not going to change the overall outlook of this wave happening. But just so you guys know, if that happens, don't want any of you panicking and freaking out. That's not going to change the outlook. Euro USD, this is a daily chart given the big picture view to start things off. The euro dollar is a rather messy sideways pair to be trading on. It doesn't mean that there's not opportunities to be made. It just means that there's a lot of sideways, congestion-y, indecisive movements up and down and up and down and up and down. There's not any really big fluid waves either direction. My outlook on this pair is for this wave, this larger, more of a significant wave to happen, and that wave being to the upside. So upside is my favorite direction at this point. However, it's not something I'm interested in looking at right this moment. What I'd like to see in order for that to happen first are these lows here to be taken out, new lows formed, especially if we get price to come down to the bottom of this structure here and be looking for longs from that point, looking to capture this wave up here. Something comparable to this wave over here, I'm expecting over here. Now, something else interesting, and I want to point this out, and this is really the power of price action and what it can do for your trading, is back in January of 2019, that was a couple of months ago, in one of my outlooks, in fact, let me pull the screenshot up. You can see in red, these were the subsequent waves I was anticipating on the euro dollar, again on the daily chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This 5 wave, really this perfect Elliott wave sequence here to the downside is what I was expecting. In fact, it wasn't just the 5 wave sequence, it was the additional 6th wave to the upside that I was forecasting and expecting. You can see here we are into March, expecting something like this here. And now I want you to see this as the speculative forecast and then what actually happened. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, just as expected on the way down, a new low formed, and then the 6th wave to the upside. All right. Now, of course, this doesn't always happen like this every time. However, this is what the power of price action can do in your own trading. All right, and the type of confidence it can build. That's why week after week on many of these forecasts, so many of these trade ideas and setups come to fruition. It's because it's built into the price action and you can see this kind of stuff and anticipate it. For the time being, I'm not all that interested on doing anything on the euro dollar on the bigger scheme until we see price come down and some new lows formed. However, if we dial down to a 30-minute chart, you could be on the lookout for some shorts. I'm seeing a really nice short setup playing out here. We had this strong impulsive wave to the downside, breaking through all of this structure, completely unraveling this big bullish impulsive wave to the upside that we had during the FOMC announcement. And so the sellers were able to completely erase and undo all of those gains. Big strong impulsive wave breaking through the structure, and as it stands, price is currently in a corrective mode. And so long as it continues to correctively move back up, once we get up back to this trend line, back up into this area of resistance, that's where I would be looking out for any shorts. Pound Aussie 4-hour chart. Last week's video, we were expecting this wave down to happen. That's exactly what happened, down into this nice structure of support, falling right back down into this trend line where you could have looked for any buys from that point. Price has taken off already a few hundred pips to the upside. There is continual upside remaining. When we get price, if we get price back up to the top of this range, the top of this rising wedge, as well as this bigger structure resistance we've got there, that 190 handle, from that point I'll be on the lookout, and the outlook from that point is going to be longer term bearish for some very nice handsome profit potential to the downside. This is the pound Aussie on a daily chart to really just give you some big picture context here, more of a macro view, so you can see where this resistance is coming from here. Once we get price back up to that 190 handle, up into this area of resistance, ignore any upside, and downside will be the outlook. Pound CAD, downside is the expectation. For the time being, I will be ignoring any trades long. Really, on the shorter time frames, I want to be waiting for strong signs of sellers to step in before I'll be looking to get in short. However, that doesn't change the overall outlook being bearish. Pound franc outlook is bearish on this as well. In last week's outlook video, price was sitting up here at these highs, and of course we were expecting this wave down. It's already had an over 400 pip move to the downside since last week, so coming together really nicely. If price does manage to come up higher and make new highs, I'll be looking to get in short, especially from any of these levels up here. Pound Kiwi 4-hour chart, similar to the pound Aussie. In last week's video, we were anticipating a wave down. Of course, price came right down, was perfectly compliant to the bottom of this trend line. Price taking off like a rocket from that point, a couple hundred pips thus far. It's not going to be any surprise if we see price come up higher, breaking new highs, and if and when it does, once we get up to these areas of supply up here at the top of this range, that's where I'll be looking for shorts, scouting those short trades, and downside being the expectation from that point for this really nice big wave to the downside. Take a look at the Nifty. This is a 4-hour chart, a little temporary break from Forex here. This is one that I showcased in one of the previous outlook videos a week or two ago, and expecting this wave down. As you can see, price has come up, been perfectly compliant to the price structure that we have here, this very correctively moving bit of price action. And of course, as you can see, price entering this area of supply, we're already seeing a very significant amount of selling, a reaction out of that zone, and I will be expecting additional downside on the horizon. Kiwi CAD daily chart, very big picture view at this point. Price has been respecting this trend line now for many months, in fact a couple of years at this point. We're now back up to the top of this region, and I'm on the lookout for shorts. Downside is the expectation and my outlook at this point. Let's go down to a 4-hour chart. Alright, moving down to a 4-hour chart now on the Kiwi CAD. We're up at this range now, guys. Things are going to be very interesting, and I'm not going to be one bit surprised if we see price come up and take out these highs, grabbing all that liquidity that's going to be sitting up here, taking out those stops, and then consequently clearing the way out for this wave down that we've been expecting. I've been certainly anticipating for some time now. That's precisely what I'll be looking for. Kiwi franc 4-hour chart, outlook is bearish. Downside is the overall expectation on this pair. Price could just take off to the downside from where it is currently. However, it doesn't mean it can't come up one more time and just continue to consolidate inside of this range, getting tighter and tighter. If it does and it comes up and tests or breaks this high here, I'd consider that a tremendous opportunity to consider getting in short. To ride this wave down, my overall expectation being the market at least eventually testing these lows. Kiwi dollar daily chart, very similar outlook on the Kiwi dollar as well. We had some massive rejection at the top of this range here, which of course was expected. We were expecting price to be reactive from these highs and eventually head lower down here. Lots of downside to be able to grab on this bearish wave down. However, once we get price down here in this area of interest, that's where I'll therefore be looking for the next bullish wave to the upside. Dollar CAD daily chart. I want to give you guys a very big picture view of the dollar CAD and what's been going on. Since September of 2017, price has been in the formation of this rising wedge pattern, gradually making these higher highs along the way. Towards the beginning of the year, as expected, we had this strong impulsive way to the downside. Myself, along with many of our members, were able to capture, and actually expecting from that the beginnings of an even bigger move to the downside. However, that has not been the case, and I want to bring to your attention, it is possible that we will see another test of these former highs, if not price breaking up, being compliant with the structure that's here. And if that is the case, you better believe I'll be looking for shorts from here, and then hopefully having the beginning of this next massive tsunami wave to the downside. There is what I'll really be ultimately expecting. However, in the meantime, going down to a 4-hour chart, I'm going to keep my eyes closely on this pair, as I am expecting it to come higher, taking out these highs, and after doing so, I'll be on the lookout for shorts at the top of this range here for some nice downside. Alright, you guys, to close this week's video, I'm going to transition into precious metals. I'm seeing some interesting things come about on silver and gold. So we're going to start out with silver. This is a weekly chart to give you this big macro picture view of what was going on here. And I actually want to take you back to December of 2018. That was a few months back, where I posted to our members macro view on silver. Could this be the trade of the year for 2019? Question mark. You can't make any promises in trading, but one thing I can promise you is that silver will not go to zero. Okay, now here's what I was posting. This was the outlook. From these levels, when price was back here at $14 handle, anticipating price to initiate a bullish wave to the upside. Okay, and as you can see, getting up to this 1620 handle was where I was expecting the first bout of hesitation, of rejection in the market. We go into the actual charts and take a look at what happened. Of course, it was right here, precisely at that 1620 handle, where we saw price get very strongly rejected from. Upon hitting this 1620 handle, getting rejected back to the downside, what I'm really going to be tuned into, and I'd admonish everyone watching this do the same, at least monitor this. Bear in mind, I'm not telling you what trades to take, but just simply to monitor this, because I think this will be something you'll want to watch. Price oftentimes has the tendency to retest areas from which it breaks out of. And you can see this area of accumulation of price, where we had price making this really nice double bottom. It consolidated, or in other words accumulated, for a few months, and then had this strong, robust breakout. Now I am ultimately expecting price to come back, retest this area, 1480-ish area, and from that point, as you can see, resume this next wave. Okay, now that doesn't mean price is going to move in a straight line. This is just to show the overall bullish outlook that I have. Now, can this move aggressively? Of course it can. Have we seen it do it in the past? Yes, we have. You can see, if you look just a little bit to your left, price making this really, parabolic run north of the $20 mark. And it really doesn't have to take much for the markets to get a little bit of uncertainty and to see some really aggressive capital flows into the safe haven assets like silver and gold. Something very interesting to keep your eyes on if we drive down to a 4-hour chart. Alright, so driving down to a 4-hour chart on silver, you can see we had this here's this big rejection that we had on the way down. Price breaking out of all this, came right down to this trend line, bounced right off of it, and is correctively moving its way back up. One way to play this is actually keeping an eye out for shorts up at the top of this range for this next wave down. However, that's going to be something short-lived, at least something I would be looking to close out profits on and target this area, turn right back around and get ready to go in long from this area, and at that point be on the lookout for buy setups at that point. Moving on to gold, price had developed this really nice trend line that the market was compliant with for many, many months, going back into 2018 and into the beginning of the year. However, we had this really aggressive breakdown of that trend line, price moving correctively back up, and I'll be keeping an eye out for price to get back up into this supply zone here for the next wave short, at least back down to these lows, if not breaking those lows. But again, overall, I am a long-term bull on this pair. If you're ready to go from floundering to flourishing, from confusion to clarity in your trading, then you need to join the free Price Action Nation Telegram channel to get trade ideas and analysis sent straight to your phone. Don't forget to support the channel by subscribing and clicking that bell notification so you're always in the loop on the freshest market analysis and trading tips. I want you to see the markets with clarity, keep trading simple, no more indicator overload, and finally achieve profitability. Are you in? Question of the day. What currency pair or asset would you like me to do an analysis on? Leave it in the comments below, and whatever currency pair or asset we get the most votes on, I'll be sure to do either a short video or post an analysis on the Telegram channel just for you guys to show my thanks. That's going to wrap things up for this week's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep up the good work. I'll see you here next week, and until next time, best of luck in your trading.